Today, we're cracking open a truly incredible story, straight from Douglas Mawson's own account of the Australasian Antarctic expedition. This isn't just a tale of exploration. It's a story of early 20th century ambition, some pretty amazing ingenuity, and just raw survival against what is, without a doubt, the most hostile place on Earth.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the absolutely brutal place they called home. Then, the wild technology they brought to try and conquer it. After that, we'll see the unique little world they built for themselves, the groundbreaking science they were doing, and finally, the incredible legacy they left behind. Okay, first things first. To really get this expedition, you have to understand the main character of this story wasn't a person. It was the environment itself, the unrelenting, hurricane-force world of Adélie Land.
I mean, just look at this. This is not some peaceful winter wonderland. It is a battlefield, a chaotic, alien landscape of ice and wind-carved snow called sastrugi. Everything you see here was shaped by one single, overwhelming force that dictated every single second of their lives.
And that force? It was the wind. They clocked it at a mind-boggling 103 miles per hour. This wasn't just a stiff breeze, you guys. It was a physical wall of air that could knock a grown man flat on his back. One of the explorers actually described how he could just sit down, raise his arms like sails, and literally get blown yards across the ice with the dogs. Just incredible.
And you couldn't escape it, not really. This quote tells you everything. Even huddled inside their small wooden hut, the sheer power of the blizzard was always there, a constant vibration, a relentless rattling that served as a permanent reminder of the hostile world just inches away.
So how on earth do you plan to take on a place like that? Well, they brought the best technology of the day, hoping to tame the ice. But, as we're about to see, reality had, well, other plans.
So this was supposed to be their ace in the hole, an air tractor sledge. Basically, they took a monoplane, took the wings off, and turned it into this propeller-driven machine designed to haul supplies. It was a bold, almost science fiction idea that they believed would completely change the game for polar travel.
But here is the massive irony. The chief engineer, Bickerton, he realized pretty quick that a machine that literally uses the air to move was kind of useless in a place defined by constant hurricane-force winds. The very element it needed to work became its biggest enemy.
But this is what's so amazing about these guys, their resilience. When the high-tech dream failed, they didn't just junk it. Nope, they cannibalized it. A broken vise from the machine was brilliantly repurposed into an absolutely essential brake for their old-fashioned, man-hauled sledges. They literally turned their biggest failure into a tool for survival.
So, with the wind howling like a banshee and their grand technological plans lying in pieces, what was life actually like day to day? Let's step out of the storm and go inside their little wooden hut to see the surprisingly complex and deeply human world they built for themselves.
This really shows you how they fought to stay sane. They held church services every Sunday. They had these fiercely competitive card games, and if you got the lowest score, you had to wear the Jonah medal, this huge plate on a rope. They even published their own monthly magazine. All these little rituals of civilization were their lifeline.
And get this, they basically became gourmet chefs of the Antarctic. To escape the sheer boredom of their rations, each man became a specialist. One guy was the steam pudding expert, another perfected puff pastry. One even invented a new dessert completely by accident. This wasn't just about food. It was about creativity, comfort, and keeping morale from hitting rock bottom. And it wasn't just the men creating a society. The dogs had their own thing going on too, a whole intricate social structure. The men would watch as these little alliances and friendships formed, like between two dogs named George and Lassie. And then there were rival gangs, with this one big dog, Colonel, acting as the ringleader. These animals were just as much a part of the expedition's social fabric as the explorers themselves. So you have to ask yourself, why? Why go through all of this? This was never just about adventure or planting a flag on a pole. The Australasian Antarctic expedition was one of the most ambitious scientific missions of its era. All that hardship, all that peril, it all had a purpose.
Their entire mission really depended on equipment that looks pretty simple to us now, like this thing, the Lucas automatic sounding machine. It might not look like much, but this device, which was designed to measure the depth of the ocean, was absolutely central to one of their biggest scientific goals. What they were doing was literally charting the unknown. For the very first time, they were systematically mapping the shape of the seafloor around Antarctica. They were discovering the true geography of the continent's foundation, a world that had been completely hidden beneath the waves.
And their breakthroughs weren't just under the ocean. On land, they made some incredible biological finds. For example, they discovered the first ever known nesting place of the silver gray petrel. This was a huge deal, solving a mystery that had puzzled bird experts for years.
So, after years of battling that relentless blizzard and painstakingly collecting data, their ordeal finally came to an end. And in its place, they cemented a legacy of profound scientific discovery.
The sheer scale of what they accomplished is just staggering. But you know, a number like 2,400 miles of sledging, it doesn't even begin to tell the real story. That mileage was paid for at an unbelievable human cost on journeys that pushed men far beyond their breaking point. Through it all, they put entirely new coastlines on the map, they kept the first continuous weather log from the windiest place on Earth, and they completely rewrote our understanding of Antarctica.
Mawson's own words, when he finally returned home, really capture the overwhelming feeling of it all. I mean, after being pushed to the absolute physical and psychological edge, coming back to civilization was it was an experience too powerful to even put into words.
And in the end, that's the question Mawson's incredible story leaves us with, isn't it? It makes you wonder about that deep, relentless drive that we have as humans, that spark that pushes us to face impossible odds, not just to survive, but to simply understand our world, one brutal blizzard at a time.